one of the things that I keep hearing from people, and I hear it sometimes in your calls, this sense of despair of, oh my God, he's tearing down the White House. He obviously plans to live there forever. He's not going to leave. He's destroying our democracy. All that stuff is true, but it doesn't mean that he's going to succeed. I mean, I think that he knows that he doesn't have anything close to the power that he's claiming. I mean, he says that he has a mandate for leadership. He won by a landslide. He didn't even get 50% of the popular vote. He didn't win. He won the popular vote in 2024 with like 48.9 or 49.7 or whatever it was. It was less than 50%. He didn't win the popular vote at all in 2016. And on top of that, well, actually, I think he knows that I'm blithering here. Let me start over. On top of all that, only about half of Americans who were eligible to vote even voted in the last election. About a third of the people didn't vote at all. About a third of the people voted for Kamala Harris, and about a third of the people voted for Donald Trump. Two-thirds of the country did not vote for him, basically, who were registered to vote. And I think, when you look at you include people who are not registered to vote, which is a hell of a lot of people. It's even bigger than that. And he knows this, and the people around him knows this. And I think this is why he's rushing so hard and so fast to put his masked, unaccountable, secret police into the streets of every city in America. This is why they're trying to explode ICE. This is why they're building over 100 concentration camps across the United States. He realizes that the time is going to come when there's going to be serious resistance to what he's doing. And I think it's starting in Chicago right now. And it's going to be real interesting if they actually take this court ruling to heart, if it holds up, and the Chicago Police Department or the Illinois State Police start arresting ICE officers when they break the law, because they are breaking the law. I mean, let's just be clear about this. And so I think this is why he's breaking laws. Trump is breaking laws left and right, from the laws against bribery to the Hatch Act, to Posse Comitatus. I think it's why he's trying to provoke a military confrontation with Venezuela. You'll recall 2 days after the Beirut barracks bombing that killed 200 plus American Marines, what did Ronald Reagan do? He invaded Grenada. He needed a distraction. It's why Trump is trying to distract us from the Epstein files. And by the way, another question about the Epstein files. I think everybody's assuming that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and he's he doesn't want us to know because, he was one of the many men who were having sex with these underage girls. Today, by the way, is the day that Virginia Giuffre's book drops, and it's going to be real interesting when that hits the public, to get some excerpts from that. We'll start seeing those over the next 2 or 3 days. So everybody's assuming that it's because he was, raping young girls. But people forget, Donald Trump owned the Miss Teen USA pageant. Was he supplying girls to Jeffrey Epstein? Was he part of an underage sex trafficking ring? I mean, he may well be in the Epstein files for that. And nobody's even talking about that. So anyhow, he's trying to distract us from the Epstein files. It's why whenever there's information about our economy, almost a third, actually a little over a third of our states right now are either in recession or within a half a point away from recession. And whenever news like that comes out, Trump finds some shiny new object to distract the media. So everybody's like, oh my God, Donald Trump has all this power. The reality is that you look at the polling, he's underwater. He's got between 35 and 40% support in the United States. That's nothing. When Vladimir Putin came to power in 1999, when he was made acting president by the alcoholic Boris Yeltsin, his support went in 3 months from his appointment until the first poll went from 31% to 80%. And he went up to 88% by 2008. This is real support that Putin had in Russia before he dismantled their democracy. He had real support. That's what allowed him to do it. Same thing with Viktor Orban. When he came to power in 1998, at the age of 35, he was the youngest prime minister ever. He had real support. The vast majority of the people in Hungary supported. I was in Hungary the summer that he gave his very first speech when he was in his 20s. He was a student protest leader originally. Fidesz, his political party, was like SDS. It was a student protest movement. Well, you can see where that all went, but he was able to do it because he was so popular. And that's the modern time. Same thing with Bukele in El Salvador, who calls himself the world's coolest dictator. He is a dictator now, but when he came to power, the country was in shambles. The gangs had taken over the country. Same thing in Peru with Fujimori. Fujimori came into office, and inflation at that time, it cost as much for a tube of toothpaste as you could spend to buy a house just 5 years earlier. They both destroyed their democracies, but they did it based on their popularity. Same thing with Mussolini. He made the trains run on time. Everybody loved him. Nobody loves Trump. The majority of people do not love Trump. And you're starting to see the cracks. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene coming out saying that she thinks the Republicans are going to lose the House. Forget about redistricting and gerrymandering. They're going to lose the House. And then look at this pardoning George Santos. The reason he pardoned George Santos is to say to Republicans, if you will lick my shoes, if you will lick my boots, if you will kiss my ass, if you will always praise me and do exactly what I tell you, no matter what crimes you commit, I'll let you out. But if you cross me, like James Comey did, even though you're a lifelong Republican, I'm going to bring hell down on you. Why? Because he's ruling by fear. That's all he has. He does not have popularity. He only has fear. And fear doesn't work over the long term. John Adams, one of the founders of this republic, said fear is the foundation of most governments, but it's so sordid and brutal a passion that Americans will not be likely to approve of any political institution which is founded in it. Winston Churchill talked about dictators on their pedestals, surrounded by the bayonets of their soldiers, yet in their hearts there's an unspoken fear. That's what's going on here. Fearful men always lean on violence. And I'm with Billy Graham, who if he saw what his son Franklin is up to, would be puking. Thank God he's dead. But Billy Graham said, and I quote, "Courage is contagious. When a brave man takes a stand, the spines of others are often stiffened." So take heart. The No Kings marches proved both Trump's widespread unpopularity and the fearlessness of the American people. You even had police departments out there thanking people for exercising their First Amendment rights. Ruth Ben-Ghiat has a great article about this today in her Substack newsletter. We Americans have never tolerated a king, never tolerated a dictator, and we're not about to start.